Welcome to the QCA Wrestle Podcast with Rob Hill and Jay Ziman. Our guest today is Bo Bettinson, who was recently named head coach of the St. Ambrose Wrestling Program. We would also like to take a second to thank one of our sponsors, Quint Cities Restoration. They are a storm restoration company that specializes in roofing, siding, and gutters. Contact them today for your free inspection at 309-798-8354. Also, find them on Facebook, Quint Cities Restoration. All right, thank you for listening and enjoy the show. All right, we're recording this episode at the Tangled Wood. The Tangled Wood is a Bettendorf, Iowa gastropub located at 3636 Tangled Wood. Great food, great drinks, and great atmosphere. If you haven't been to Tangled Wood yet, you need to check this place out. We're here today with Coach Bo Bettinson. Coach Bettinson's a recent hire for the brand new program at St. Ambrose University. Coach is from Reno, Nevada. He wrestled at Waldorf in Iowa, was a four-time NAIA national qualifier, earned over 100 wins in his career. Coach, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
No, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys doing this.
Yeah, we really appreciate talking to you. So first of all, congratulations on the new job. Super exciting. I wanted to ask, how did you first hear about the job, and kind of how did the decision-making process work for you?
So COVID, you just kind of posted up at your house, not really doing a whole lot. Scrolling through Facebook, Internet. It was Internet or one of those. Okay. You follow all the wrestling stuff. I just see that St. Ambrose is starting a program. I was like, oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's sweet. So then I kind of started looking into it. I was like, oh, I was back in Iowa. Heck yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on that. So I sat down and talked with the guy I was working for, head coach Tyson Diedrich. Shout out to you, you're the man. So I was just like, I got to put in for it, and rest is history. Me and my wife kind of researched the area and just kind of get back into a bigger city. Sure. I loved Iowa when I moved here, so I was like, back in Iowa, bigger city for my wife. It's easy decision.
Sure. Now, for those not familiar, a lot of us, we've heard of Waldorf, yep, but not sure where it's at. So where is?
Forest City, Iowa. So go up Mason City, about 26 miles west on Highway 9. Town of 5,000 people, home of the Winnebago. So shout out to Waldorf, Forest City, cool. Man. I enjoyed my time out there. It was a good time.
Awesome.
So had you ever heard of the Quad Cities before coming here, or have you ever visited?
I had been through Davenport. I had heard of Bettendorf just, in college. Wrestling, you just hear, schools that pop up that are real good. So I'd heard of Bettendorf, but I didn't know that this area was called the Quad Cities. I had no idea. I've been through, but hadn't spent much time. Yeah. I think I might have stayed here once or twice.
Okay. Yeah. It's awesome here. Well, welcome.
I've enjoyed it so far for about a month.
Yeah.
So let's start from the very beginning. How'd you get your start into wrestling, and at what age did you start?
I was 4 or 5. Pre-kindergarten, they brought in, so I lived in this little small town in Nevada. It's called Battle Mountain, Nevada. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's just a little teeny tiny town. And they brought in a flyer, and I was like, took it home. I was like, hey, Dad, I want to try this because it's wrestling. Right? And I was a big fan of the WWE. It was actually WCW back then, right? The NWO, Hulk Hogan, all those guys. So I was excited. I get to hit people with chairs and stuff. Ran bumps as a little kid. Yeah. So I go to the first practice, and I hated it. I didn't know any moves. I couldn't hit people, biting, scratching, none of that. So I was like, I'm out with this. This isn't fun. My parents, right, once you start something, like all good parents do, if you start, you're going to stick through it. And I fell in love with it right away. At a young age, I found, as a little kid, you find success as much as you have at a young age. So, man, I just loved it. And then from, it was like day one almost. I guess it wasn't day one, but day 2, I was hooked. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you have any other family members that wrestled, or?
No, my dad wrestled in middle school, but he was a basketball guy, football guy. So, middle school in Wyoming, Wyoming's not a big wrestling state, and, back in the 70s, 80s, whatever. But
sure. So
he didn't really know a whole lot. It was just kind of, a lot of it was trial and error, and kind of falling in with the right coaches. I got real lucky just with the people that you meet through the sport of wrestling that kind of helped propel me to where I'm at.
Sure. Did wrestling come naturally to you, would you say, or did it?
I want to say yes. Kind of growing up in that small community, I just didn't have a lot of exposure. So I think after my second year, I was in the high school room. The high school coach was cool enough. Shout out to Mitch Domagali's the man. Battle Mountain, Nevada. That guy's a legend out there. He's won, 20 team state titles, small class Nevada. He's a heck of a coach. From the age of 7, I was doing all the high school practices just because I was starting to get good. And my dad's like, hey, we're going to Reno, right? The Reno World. We're going to Tulsa. We go to Tulsa twice a year. Back then, there wasn't a national tournament every weekend. You had the Rocky Mountain Series and you had the Reno World, the Tulsa National Series. So we'd go around, we'd hit those, and I started finding success real early. I'd placed at all those. I wasn't winning. I won a few of them, but I was wrestling with some of the best guys in the country. So I think it came fairly natural. I just wrestled really hard back then. I didn't have a lot of technique. I just wrestled really hard. So.
Sure, aggressive and
Just go as hard as you can and figure it out after that.
Sure.
So who did you look to as modeling your style of wrestling? A lot of the wrestlers in the Midwest out here, you will hear the Brands brothers or Metcalf. It's going to be a little different coming over on the West Coast for you, right?
Yeah. So back in when I was coming up, especially when I started getting fairly good and fairly successful, was middle school, high school. California, we wrestled over there all the time, so it was a lot of the scrambling stuff. So like Abbas, I was a big Abbas fan. John Smith used to come do camps in Reno when I was young, so I was a big John Smith fan. Always been a big Coleman Scott guy. Obviously, you love Gable and just the intensity of Tom Brands and Terry Brands. So I want to say I do a little bit of all of it. I love the technical aspect of like the Oklahoma State, John Smith, the elbow off stuff, but also just that straightforward pressure, in your face, relentless scoring like the Brands is. So I want to say it's a little bit of both.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know from looking at past videos of you in high school and younger, you have a wicked low single.
Hey, man, that was a lot of practice. I remember being a kid. I was like, 10. John Smith would do these at camps out in Reno all the time. And he demonstrated it one time on me in front of the camp. And he's like, all right, don't let me get it. And he just grabbed it. I'm like, all right, if I could do that, I'm not very old. I might have been 13. And just couldn't stop it. It's like, I want to be able to do that, So I'm a big, still to this day, big low single guy. As you can tell, I'm not a very large man, so I'm not going to outpower anybody, so I got to figure it out.
Sure. We did a little homework on you. I saw that you were a 2-time state champ in high school as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your high school career?
Yeah, high school was fun, man. I loved it. So I actually grew up in a little kind of small town, Poplar, so I moved to Reno for high school. My freshman year did not end the way I thought it was going to. Didn't place my freshman year. I beat a lot of the guys in that bracket who ended up placing. It was a big learning experience for me because I started looking ahead. There was a kid that was on the other side of the bracket. It was me and him. We were going to wrestle for the state final, in the state finals for the championship. That guy's still a hammer to this day. He's doing big things out in Nevada, but I was like, that's who I'm wrestling. Can't do that, right? Learned that very, very early on, so I ended up getting beat out. Lose that match, and I'm like, well, I can't be a 4-timer, and you got to learn how to bounce back. So that was a big one for me, and then just dedicated the whole summer, got better, win it as a sophomore. In my junior year, that was my best year for sure. I got a lot better over the summer, and just kind of that's all I did was wrestle. You couldn't keep me out of the wrestling room, and so I went it again as a junior, and then senior year, it just didn't work out. I got beat in the semis. No excuses. I'm a little banged up, but hey, you gotta figure everybody's banged up, right? You gotta go win that wrestling match. You got upset in the semis, and that kid ended up winning the state title. And hey, go bounce back and go get third. So I got third, and I think that was a big turning point in my career too. Because if I would have won 3, I don't know how my college career would have turned out. I was, you wrestle for a long time and started getting a girlfriend who now I ended up, that's my wife now.
Yeah, awesome.
You kind of, wrestling wasn't a priority.
Sure.
And that's, looking back, that's why I took some losses my senior year that I had no business taking. And it's like, okay, now it's time to rededicate and get ready to go.
Yeah.
It helped me out a lot. So
one thing that reminds me of, so Brent Metcalf, we talked about him a little bit earlier, one of our favorite wrestlers.
Oh, he's the man.
When we talked to Brent, one of the things, when we talked about recruiting with him, was he mentioned when he goes to, like, say, Super 32, he's going to watch the guys win in the Super 32, of course. Everyone is. But he's like, the Super 32 champ might not be the guy I'm going after. It might be that guy who fights back and gets third.
Yeah.
Or even fifth. It's like when you fight back and you get something after the massive disappointment like that, I think that tells a whole lot more about your character than winning all the time.
Oh, absolutely. At the NEI level too, is you're gonna find a lot of those kids who maybe didn't reach that goal but are still real hungry and they want to go get that. It's sometimes you gotta learn how to lose before you can ever learn how to win.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta learn how to take a loss.
Absolutely.
It's how you take a loss.
Yeah.
What was happening when you were taking that loss? Were you down by 6 and just like, all right, I'm going to give up the major? Did you battle back and only lose by 3? That kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right? Because wrestling, a lot of stuff's going to happen in that 7 minutes of college, right? A lot of stuff's going to happen in that 7 minutes. Can you stay within yourself and figure it out?
Absolutely.
That's a great answer. So, Coach, you finished your high school career. It was 174 wins.
174 wins, 17 losses.
Wow, so incredible.
That's awesome.
So, how did you find yourself at Waldorf, and how did you introduce yourself with that college? What is that, 1,700 miles away from home?
Yeah, that's a long ways.
And what did mom and dad think about that? Because that's quite a jump.
Yeah, Dad wasn't happy about it. Still not happy about it because I left. I left at 18 years old, so I haven't been back. I go back and visit, but how many times can you go back? College coach, and I go back once, twice a year. Haven't been back, but no, just kind of part of the recruiting process. I was talking to a few smaller D1 schools. I was just too small. My freshman year of college, I weighed 118 pounds. I just wasn't very big. So it was, I'm starting to talk to some colleges, and Waldorf came calling. I went on a visit, and I met that coaching staff there, and some of the guys on the team. I was like, I can see it. They sold me on it. I loved it, and yeah. So coming out to Highway, being a Midwest kid, you just don't have a ton of opportunity out west to wrestle. There's just not a lot, and there's less even now with Boise dropping, Stanford's dropping. There's just not a lot of opportunity to wrestle out west. So I just naturally, I assumed that I was going to be coming out to the Midwest.
Sure.
Why not Iowa?
Yeah.
Why not Iowa?
Absolutely.
The heart of wrestling, man. I love it.
Yeah. So how hard was the transition? I got to believe with your high school career, you were the big dog in the high school room, especially by your senior year for sure.
Kind of. My wrestling partner is Joe the Valley. So
Okay. Great. Yeah, great
wrestled
partner.
at Missouri. National finalist for him. So I don't want to say I was the big dog at it. And he's bigger than me. He's like my big little brother.
Yeah.
I love that dude. So on my senior year, he was sophomore, so I wasn't big dog anymore.
Okay. Sure. Being one of the big dogs.
Yeah.
Being one of the big dogs. How was the transition then going into the college room?
Oh man, it was brutal. It was brutal. I don't think I scored a real takedown in a month. But I ended up starting my true freshman year because the kid who was supposed to start ended up cracking a rib or something. And I wanted to go. I wanted to wrestle. Best decision I ever made was just getting out there and figuring it out. So I took my lumps. I think I took as many losses my freshman year as I did my full 4 years of high school. It's learning. Some kids can take those losses and kind of grow from them. Some can't. Just that adjustment to college is hard. For some reason, I still don't know why. I had a good head on my shoulders about it, and I'd take a loss and just okay, that one's over now. Let's go get better. And it helped a lot. Just figuring out college wrestling. It's a different level.
Yeah.
And wrestling in Iowa is sweet because you get to wrestle Iowa. I was wrestling Iowa State, UNI, Minnesota. I was wrestling all these guys and taking lumps and slowly just seeing that gap close.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel in the room, but when you start seeing it out in live situations and that gap starts closing, it's okay, this stuff's starting to come together.
So you talked about a lot of lumps and issues going into as a freshman into school, right?
Yeah.
What advice could you give to incoming freshmen that are going to be going to pretty strong programs?
Yeah, you're gonna take your lumps. You're going to. But it's find those small wins, right? Find those small wins. I tell guys all the time in the practice room, go win the next point, right? That last point, that's over with. Why sit there and dwell on that last point? Oh, I got taken down. Well, throwing a fit about it's not going to do anything about it, right? Go win the next one. All right, you get out. All right, hey, that's a win. Now go get the next one, right? Go get the next point. Oh, maybe you got taken down. And dwell on it, right? It's not the first time you can take down, not the last. Go win the next one. And if you just slowly and just tell yourself, all right, gotta go get the next one. Gotta go get the next one. Those wins are gonna come, and you just gotta, take those small wins when you can, because those small ones are gonna build you. I think,
Yeah, makes sense. So, Coach, you mentioned you started at like about 118 pounds in college. So, did you wrestle all 4 years at 125?
Yeah, 125. Okay. Shoot, I can make 125 tomorrow.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I was going to ask, how did the weight, did the cut get hard throughout your career?
Never really had to cut. Never really cut in college. I think my last college weigh-in, I weighed in at 122 pounds. The senior, my junior, senior year, beginning of the season, I'd start getting up there, but I can't say my diet was the best, but I was, wrestling is what mattered, so I just made sure my weight was under control. Come national tournament, the day before the national tournament, I went out with my dad. We went to Olive Garden. I went and ate, had a, nothing crazy, but I had a decent dinner, got up in the morning, got a workout, hopped on the scale. I was a big guy. I always wanted to work out before weigh-ins, even if my weight was under control, because I just didn't want that guy to have another workout on me. That was my big thing. It's like, you're not going to do more than me, so you got to go cut weight. Well, I'm not cutting weight. Obviously, I'm going to go do a workout. So I go do a workout. I hopped on the scale. I was 122 pounds. Yeah, so I wasn't cutting a lot of weight. That was a big issue for me in college, was just trying to match the strength and the size of some of those big boys.
Some of those guys were probably coming down from, 140s?
Yeah, those are big boys.
Yeah.
Round 12, those are big boys.
Yeah.
So, Bob and I, we did our homework. We saw a lot of your matches from college and high school. One thing that we really noticed is you got an incredible gas tank.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to college, how do you balance between, the lifting and keeping your endurance where you want it to be? Or is that more of a mindset?
It's a lot of it is the mindset, and then just kind of the way you lift. Beginning of the year, right, you're going to lift hard. You want to, got to get in shape. You want to be big. You want to be strong. During the season, a lot of it is going to, at least kind of the way that I think about it is, we're going to lift wrestling specific. So if you're doing this motion in a wrestling match, trying to push 300 pounds off you, you're probably not doing something right.
Looking at the lights.
Yeah, you're not. This isn't a good wrestling motion, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to bench, you're going to squat, you're going to clean, you're going to do all those Olympic lifts. So those are good lifts, but a lot of it's going to be low weight, high rep, so muscle endurance, right? You don't need to be huge and bulky to wrestle, right? You want to be lean, cut, your muscles in shape. So it changes, but a lot of it is just wrestling hard, right? You just gotta, and if you wrestle hard every day in the wrestling room for 30 minutes, it's really easy to move percent.
Sure, makes sense. Okay, so your college career, another outstanding college career, similar to high school, 105 wins. At what point did you decide that you were going to get into the coaching side of things?
I wasn't going to. I never All-American. Round of 12 3 times in a row. My freshman year, I was round of 16. Sophomore, junior, senior year, there's still a couple of those matches. My junior year, round of 12, I've never watched that match. I feel kind of sore about that one. Senior year, I got beat. And my entire wrestling career, all I ever wanted to do was be a college All-American. And that's one reason why I never was, because I was satisfied with the game. I didn't understand that at the time. As an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, you don't understand that. I was done, man. Wrestling just ripped my heart out and showed it to me, so I was done with wrestling, and I walked away. The head coach, Brad Stockton at Walmart, he just kind of was like, hey, don't leave it. Don't leave it. And so it was my senior year, and I'm just off, causing problems. I can't say causing problems, but I'm just out of the wrestling room, drinking beer, just enjoying the end of school. And he talked me into coming into the room, just like, hey, just come in. So I go in, and he goes, hey, just help this kid out. And so I'm just like, all right, I'll help out because I'm around. What brought me back in was there was a local kid in Forest City. He wanted some help, just starting to get into wrestling. So I'm like, all right, I'll help you out. And I was like, all right, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So, and then just college coaching. So the head coach was like, hey, I want you to be my GA. So I coached there for a couple years. Loved it. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. And
Awesome.
Off to Montana, and then after that, it was off to Montana.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump back just a little bit
Yes,
for
sir.
Montana. So you take the coaching position, helping out, and you're also helping out with the women's wrestling program at that time, right? That was just started up. What did you see as one of the hardest obstacles going in from an elite athlete to coaching? And then the second part of the question, was it awkward at all? Because these are your buddies and some of your drinking buddies you might have mentioned.
Yeah, that was the hardest part, was learning how to balance coaching friends, right? There was guys on the team that were at my wedding, right? So then it's, now I'm your coach. So it's like, I'm going to be telling you to do stuff or not do stuff that I was probably doing with you last year, right? So it was difficult. Luckily, I was with, I had friends on the team who understood. They knew how to separate it. If they couldn't have separated, I think it could have been a lot harder. But it was hard, man. I recommend everybody, if anybody wants to get out there and go coach teammates, coach friends in a leadership role, because it teaches you how to separate. It was difficult, but I wouldn't change it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. What was the first part of the question? I'm sorry. I missed that.
Just a transition from, what would be the obstacles going into it? I think you really covered that, too.
Yeah, and just, that transition, that first year, it's like, you're still 22, you're still in that competitive, right? You just don't, I hated getting scored on. I just hated it. All right, getting taken down was a big deal to me. I did not like getting taken down. So you gotta let some of that stuff go, right? You gotta let some of that stuff go, because you're not drilling to be selfish anymore. You're drilling to help this guy. You're wrestling to help this guy out versus kind of being selfish and just wanting to punish this dude. If we're going live, you're not scoring on me. Now it's a little different. I've kind of calmed down a little bit on that, but still hard.
Yeah.
It's still hard, right? Those competitive juices get flowing.
Yeah.
You don't want to get scored on. But that was hard.
We've got, and there's probably many of them, several at least, but we've got one local kid who just graduated from Loris, Andrew Andoni. Nope, Matt Andoni. Sorry, Andrew's his older brother, who's at Loris now as a coach. So he's going through exactly what you went through.
Dude, it's hard. It's hard. Just that transition of, right, when you're drilling for yourself, it's very singular, but now it's like, all right, now I got to give this kid a feel. And I was always, you always try to give a feel, but you try to give a feel in your wheelhouse, right? So it's like, if I was not an underhook guy, so I was never digging underhooks. So if we were digging underhooks that day, that's not a feel that I was ever going to give. So now, as a coach, I actually wrestle a lot of underhooks now more than I ever did. It's probably one of my better positions now, because I haven't learned it, right? Because you got to learn it, because you got to teach it.
Yeah.
So, your style's changed as a coach. You just got to be willing to allow the wrestling to happen. Everybody said it, you get so much better those first couple years out of college, just because you're just wrestling now.
Sure.
Right? Your mind opens up to all the avenues of wrestling versus being very singular, right. I want to hit my single. That's my thing. I'm going to hit my single. So now it's like, maybe I'm going to hit a snatch. Maybe I'm going to hit a high crotch. Maybe I'm going to hit a double, low single, foot single, whatever, right? Because everybody's got to, right? I'm going to coach this kid who hits a good double. I'm going to coach this kid who wants to hit a drag. So I got to be able to do all of it.
Yeah. So on the flip side, what was the easiest part about going from college athlete to coaching?
Being 22 and still being able to wrestle, come off the bench, like off the wall cold. I can't do that. Like, I'm still not very old, but at 28, your body starts slowing down.
Yeah.
Just being 22 and just having that drive, just want to hop in there and wrestle and just wanting to learn, right? I was a sponge, still am, I'm a wrestling junkie. I get called a mat rat all the time. I'll spend all day on technique. So just wanting to hop in and just help out.
Sure.
That was the easiest part, because I love wrestling, right?
Yeah.
You can't wrestle for 20 plus years and not enjoy the sport. So that was easy, just hopping in, helping out. Guys would be like, "Hey, coach, what do I do in this situation?" That's been there 1,000 times. So,
Yeah.
just the knowledge is there. So just learning how to communicate was kind of hard.
Yeah. Jay, have you had the pork tenderloin here yet?
No, not yet. How is it?
It is massive, and it's so good. You need to put on your list of things to try here for sure. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or drinks, this is one of the best places you can go to get a meal here in the Quad Cities.
Hey, Rob, did you know that they have breakfast also on the weekends?
Oh my gosh, they do it all here.
So you had mentioned you've been blessed with a lot of great coaches growing up through your years. What is one of the best pieces of advice that any of your coaches have ever given you through this process?
Like, I guess taking this job here, I think kind of the one that just kind of stuck in my mind is get ready for the hardest / most rewarding 2 years that you're ever going to go through starting the program. Man, I've had such good coaches, and a lot of it is just continuous output shots. You mentioned that so I had a high gas tank. And that was just because I just got pushed. If you can win by 8, you can win by 15, go get the tech. Keep the tech short, and just the offensive mindset. I think that just transitions into college so well. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd have to think on that a little more. That put me on the spot.
Oh, that's good. That's fine. So, starting your new program here,
Yes, sir.
what are you looking for when you start the recruiting process with a potential recruit?
There's kind of a few things, right? You got to know how to wrestle. You got to enjoy wrestling, right? My big thing is grades, right? Because if you're, and this is coming from a dude who didn't have the greatest grades on the planet, but a lot of that is just if you're willing to put in the work for the grades. I know you're willing to put in the work with your right? It's just the dedication, just being willing to. College is hard, right? Take wrestling aside. College itself is hard. It's just a different demand. And then you want to be a college athlete on top of that. It's just a different demand. So, I want guys who are willing and care about their grades, because that just shows that if you're willing to care about your grades, it's very easy in high school, whatever, right? If you're willing to care about the grades, and that's a big one for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So more than just wrestling. That's a great
it's more than
message.
just wrestling.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's more than just wrestling. You can only wrestle for so long, right? You're coming to college, right? Whether you go to Iowa or Penn State, right? Wrestling is eventually going to end. What are you going to do after that?
Yeah.
Right? What's the goal?
Love it. Raising people, not just wrestling,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So you're transitioning right into my next question
Yes,
here,
sir.
Coach. So last year your team earned NWCA all academic team title while focusing and continuing to prove you guys on the mat.
Yep.
How do you bring that same expectation and mindset to your new program?
Well, I'm going to preface with I was very lucky in Montana to coach excellent young men. Those are the guys. They were just hard working on and off the mat. So it's just, I think that expectation, just vocalizing that expectation. So, right, if I'm recruiting you, this is the expectation. So letting them understand this is where I'm coming from, and this is the standard. And if you're not willing to meet that standard, then maybe St. Ambrose isn't for you, right? Because I'm going to do everything in my power to help you meet that, but you have to be willing to meet that standard too, right? It's a 50-50 deal or a 100-100 deal, right? It can't be 50-50. You got to be bought in. I got to be bought in. So I'm willing. I'm going to be willing to sit down and help you through those classes and find you the tutors, find you, help you succeed. But you got to be willing to put in the work, So just vocalizing that expectation up front is a big one. Because then you don't have a kid coming in and like, oh, I didn't know that was a standard. No, absolutely that's a standard. Remember when we talked on the phone 6 months ago? And we talked about it, and then 3 months ago when we talked about it, and then right before we got to campus, and then our first team meeting, that's, just continuously push, driving from that point that ultimately education is the end goal, right? I want to see you walk across the stage. I also want to see you stand on top of the podium, but you're never going to stand on top of the podium if walking across the stage isn't a priority.
And I love that answer. We've had that with multiple guests that we've had on our show, saying that you cannot be good at just one piece.
No,
you have to be good at everything to be good as a person as a whole.
You gotta strive to be the best at everything, right? Every aspect of life, you have to try to be the absolute best knowing you're probably not going to be the absolute best in everything, that doesn't change the expectation.
Yeah. Put yourself. I think Nick Trezino said, do all the right things. That way, if things don't happen the way you want, at least you're not going to look back and regret, oh, I didn't do the right things.
Absolutely.
I mean, you give yourself the best possible chance to succeed.
Yeah. Nobody's ever going to look back and be, man, I wish I didn't work that hard.
Yep.
Nobody's ever said that, right?
Yep.
It's always, oh, I could have done more, right? So don't give yourself that option, right? My wrestling career, I look back, I wish I would have done more, right? So taking my downfalls in my wrestling career, making sure that I don't have, 25, 30, 40 young men on my roster that look back and go, man, coach, I could have done more. Well, I know you could have done more, right? I don't want that.
Absolutely.
It's long sleepless nights, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's rough.
Yeah. So can you tell us about the new facility a little bit? Has construction started? Okay.
No, sir. There's talks. When I came out on my visit, on my interview, they said down the baseline was an option where we renovate over there. It's also been brought up recently that maybe I don't remember. I'm going to get in trouble for not remembering where the new football field, soccer, lacrosse, and
Sure, yeah.
And
over by Assumption by
Assumption right there. It's St. Thomas Complex, I believe what it's called. So they're talking about maybe building something over there as well.
Sure.
So I don't think there's been a decision made quite yet. I got told the other day that they're going to make a decision here soon. But August it'll be ready to go. Anybody ever seen St. Ambrose facilities? It's going to be top of the line, right?
Yeah.
Incredible, especially that new addition to the athletic facility.
Dude, they do such a good job. That was a big draw here. Was they care about their student athlete experience? It's being a student athlete coming from I wrestled at a small college. There was times where as student athletes we didn't necessarily feel that college appreciated us.
Yeah.
Just because you look at some of the facilities, it's just like, man, I had a high school wrestling room nicer than a college wrestling room. St. Ambrose, that's not going to happen. They really, really care about the student athlete experience.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
So I know Jay mentioned this earlier, but Jay is a former fighting dude.
Yes, sir.
And actually, he didn't tell you this, I don't think yet, but his daughter recently decided she's going to St. Ambrose as well.
Yeah.
She committed to B of B. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. What's she doing over there?
She's going to be doing the physical therapy program.
Nice.
That they had. I mean, just incredible what they do. 3-3 and move through the process. And
that's sweet.
And they have all the. It's a beautiful campus. Anyone who hasn't been there, you've got to check it out. Especially all the changes in the last couple years back when I was there. Let's say about 30 years. All right. I had to find my.
Right?
Yeah, sure. I had to find my way back to the campus. The athletic facility is incredible. The classrooms, dorm rooms, everything. It's you don't even realize. It's like your own little community.
Yeah, it's top of the line. There's not going to be a student athlete that checks out campus that goes, oh, well, that wasn't nice. It's top of the line. All the faculty and staff that I've interacted with so far have just been welcoming with open arms. I've been on campus for a short time, but I have enjoyed. Every day it's like, okay, now I get to go to campus. Sometimes it's hard when you gotta get up and go to work. But no, not at St. Ambrose. I enjoy it. I want to hang around. I want to be there because everybody else is on the same page. Right? It's been sweet.
That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
So, hey, you got a job in front of you the next 2 years, as your coach said. What do you think are going to be some of the biggest obstacles starting up a brand new program for the next 2 years?
Man, it's just it's everything. Just kind of getting on board. First head coaching job, so just learning the landscape of everything. Right, there's a lot of stuff that you got to do with. Recruiting, fundraising. You got to get all the gear here. You got to talk to parents. You got to make sure grades are going on. You got to make sure when guys get to campus, right? You got to make sure that they're taken care of. What happened? Oh, young man went out to the bar last night, got in trouble. All right, so now I got to deal with that. So it's just going to be learning how to time management, just learning how to balance that because I haven't had to do that in the past. So I think that's going to be the biggest obstacle is just learning that avenue. I'm up for it. I'm excited for it, but it's absolutely going to be challenging. But what in life is worth doing that isn't?
Absolutely. So it's probably a little bit early, but Jay and I were talking about this a little bit already. Is there going to be talk about a women's program?
So when I got on my visit, they brought it up. Hasn't been. There's talk. I would love to see it. Women's wrestling is a big deal. If the sport wants to grow, we have to include the women. I mean, that's just the reality. Why leave out half of the population, right? So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope not. Let me get one going.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. I think that's an eventual goal.
Awesome.
For the university to kind of bring wrestling, because they haven't had, the way I understand it, they had wrestling way back in the day.
Yeah.
So let's get the men situated, settled in, and then absolutely let's get them on board.
Sure. That would be awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Have you started the recruiting process yet?
Yes, sir.
And then how many wrestlers are you gonna like what's the goal for year one?
Goal for year one's, I mean, first goal is fill a line, right?
Sure.
Competitive line.
Yeah.
I'd love to have 20. I'd love to have 40 guys. I think a realistic goal is 20, 25.
Okay.
20 to 25 guys. That's a decent sized room where everybody can have, a couple of different partners that you can bounce around. I don't want to have 11 guys because that probably going to get better with 11 guys. It's just hard.
Yeah.
So 20, 25 guys. I think that's the initial.
That's a heck of a good starter number.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Well, we reached the part what we call OT sudden death. So these are the questions that may have something to do with wrestling, may have nothing to do, but we really get to see your true colors come
Yes,
out.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. First question: if you could go back in time, when and what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, that's a hard one. If I could go back in time, I'd go back into high school and just tell myself, enjoy it. Enjoy this process. You're always in high school. You're always kind of trying to look ahead and rush everything. It's like, man, just sit back and enjoy this. Wrestling. You're not going to get this opportunity again, and you're not doing enough. Right? You think you're doing enough, you're not doing enough. Do more.
Sure.
Do more.
That's great advice. I love that advice. Favorite wrestling movie?
Oh, Vision Quest, man.
Vision Quest.
I love
Awesome.
Vision Quest.
Have you heard of just yesterday a new movie came out, The Last Champion?
Yeah, I watched the trailer for it this morning, actually, so I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
Is it out yet?
It came out yesterday, and I've just been too busy. But by the weekend, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll watch that. Now, Vision Quest, absolutely.
It is.
All right.
A little Madonna.
How about superhero? Who would you be?
Oh, Batman for sure.
Batman.
Yeah.
Take out Superman.
He's just got the brain, right?
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
He's a super brain.
Favorite wrestling match of all time?
Favorite wrestling match of all time? John Smith and Dukov, however you say that name, the Russian, and it was like 91, they did the whole All-Star. The Russian had retired, and John Smith is kind of right getting at the peak, and you just get to see. Anytime you get to watch John Smith wrestle, any John Smith for sure.
All right, what's your favorite food, and have you had any of the Quad City style pizza yet?
Yes, I've had the Quad City style pizza. I'll have to get used to it.
It'll grow on you.
It grows on you. Some of it grows on you.
A little different, somebody told me that Quad City has their own style pizza. I was like, absolutely, you gotta go try that.
Yeah.
I think I was like here for 2 days. It's like, I'm gonna figure that out. So you guys will have to recommend a spot for me.
Sure.
But, cheeseburgers. Love cheeseburgers.
Okay.
Big cheeseburger guy.
They've got really good burgers here at Tangled Wood.
There we go.
Greatest U.S. Olympic wrestler of all time?
Oh, John Smith. I'm a John Smith fan.
Yeah.
John Smith. I don't know. That's a hard one because Baumgartner's in it too, right? You don't make 15 teams a medal 13 times or whatever it was without being in consideration. But 6 straight. That's hard.
That's good. Yeah.
So, being a lightweight wrestler, who are you picking for the 57 kilograms next Olympics?
That's got to be Lee, right? Special Lee's the guy for Special Lee.
That's our man. We pull for an eye.
Special Lee. Gilman's going to make it interesting. I'd love to see. Dayton Fix is hard to score on. Watching Vito this weekend.
Yes.
Vito, he just moves different. I think he's going to cause some matchup problems, especially for Dayton Fix and Gilman, just because of the way he moves and kind of presents a different style.
Sure.
We've seen.
Did he wrestle Gross this week?
No, they didn't. They didn't hit.
Okay.
They didn't hit. I wanted it. That'd have been fun. But the way Vito moves is just different. You know, we've seen Vito and Lee was 2019.
Right.
I think Vito's a different guy, but it's not like Spencer's not getting any better. So Spencer until further notice.
Sure.
Dude, he's a man.
He's good. Yeah.
It's not fair. Why can't I be that good?
So speaking of, so Dayton Fix, is he got suspended? Is the whole dad juice thing? He'll be back and eligible for the team? Though I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, last I saw, he should be in the lineup. You know, depending on what happens within 6 ways, he should be in the lineup second semester. But
Okay.
he had the year suspension and was like he popped in like January, whatever. So then so January to that date he should be able to go. So
Sure.
COVID, he might be thinking COVID because he's gonna get a shot at making the team.
Yeah. All right. Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Oh, vanilla.
And then have you had a Whitey's shake yet?
No, I have not. I've never heard.
Okay. Whitey's big.
Don't hate the quad city.
It won't be long. You'll have to get a Whitey's, something from Whitey's.
You have to take your wife out to Whitey's when she gets there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, favorite football team?
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys.
It's been a long year.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you win the coin flip. Are you going top, bottom, or defer?
Oh, neutral. But,
Neutral. You didn't put neutral in here as an option.
National finals, right? National finals tied match. We win the coin flip. They can defer. I want choice in the third. Same thing with like football, right? You win the coin toss. I'm going to defer. I want choice at half.
Sure.
So what's in third period?
Yeah.
Down. Get that
We're
one.
going down.
No one can ride it, right?
No, let's go down.
All right, favorite vacation destination?
I mean, never left the continental U.S. So my favorite one or where I want to go.
Either
Where I
one.
want to go, I think going to Hawaii would be sweet. But you guys got to go visit Montana. Montana's pretty sweet.
It's beautiful. I've never actually been there. I've seen pictures and videos and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. Go see Glacier National Park.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Love Montana.
All right, Coach, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. Oh man, like wrestling quote or just quote in general?
Just any quote, like kind of maybe a motivational quote or something like that.
You know, I'm gonna for my hip hop fans out there. I'm gonna quote T.I. Even when winning's illogical, losing's still far from optional. Right?
That's a good one. I don't think I ever heard that one. I like it.
That's first one on ours. So, all right. Well, once again, thanks everyone, and thanks to Tanglewood for hosting us tonight. Again,
We got a shirt for Coach.
Yes.
We got a shirt for him.
I'll rep it, man, for sure.
QCA Wrestle. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir,
much.
I'll rep that. So before we take off, I do want to say one thing. Big shout out to Coach Tyson Beavers. I said it once before. If it wasn't for him, taking me under his wing out in Montana, I wouldn't be here. So any guy out there, Montana State University of Northern, any of you Iowa boys don't want to come to St. Ambrose, Montana's a good spot for you. Tyson Beavers, he's the man. He's one of the best in the game. So take care of you. So.
Very good. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
I
again,
appreciate
Coach.
it.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Amen.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a like and a follow on Facebook and Twitter at QCA Wrestle. And keep an eye out for more QCA wrestling content coming soon.